Michelle from NerdyMomsUnited.com. Today we're going to talk about the difference between starting a store online versus a physical store. Which one is right for you? Let's go to the slides. Starting a store? Let's look at the difference between online versus a physical store. Well, we're going to look at the pros and cons to a physical store, the startup costs when doing a physical store, online store pros and cons and its startup costs, difference between online versus a physical store, and 2 steps you can do to get started with an online store today. Physical store pros. Well, the customer can touch and feel the product before buying. There's human interaction in the buying experience. As soon as you open your doors, you will start generating money coming in. You can set your own hours of whether you what times and days you want your store to be open. Now the cons of a physical store. Once you're out of stock, there's nothing you can do. You'll have to back order things. People will leave and try to see if they can find that product somewhere else or go online. It's hard to scale for growth with a physical store because it requires you to have the money to buy the additional store space or physical products. So you're putting a lot of money up front before you can see the cost. And if that product doesn't sell or you expand too fast, then you run the risk of losing out on money or not being able to get the loan to even scale for your growth. Sometimes the products are cheaper online because the person running an online store does not have to pay for the physical area or having employees and other things that are going on when you have a physical store. You could have a problem with a lack of foot traffic because of your location. And that's another problem because if you don't have enough foot traffic coming into your store, you're not making any money. Now, where you put your physical store, the location is very important because it also affects the shopping experience. If you pick a place that it does not have a lot of vehicle traffic, people are not going to know you're there. And plus, it might affect your ability for parking and affect your shopping experience because people might not be able to get access to that location. So location is important. Where? Is it a nice neighborhood? Not a very good neighborhood for a store. Some residential areas are not always best for a physical store. It's all depending on what it is that you're trying to sell. So location is important to the shopping experience. New product lines. Well, problem is that that's part of your scale of growth. You have to have money up front to do new product lines, and it can be risky if it flops. Business hours. Problem with physical business hours is that sometimes your customers might not be able to get to your store during your business hours, so that you lose out on sales. Also, if you're closed, also that affects your business hours because eventually you're going to want to go on vacation. Maybe you have a medical appointment or something going on that you cannot be there. Maybe a death in the family, holidays. If your store is closed, physically closed, then you cannot make a sale. So, which leads into our next issue is if you're physically are not there to run your store, you're going to need employees. Well, they cost money, not only for their paycheck, but for taxes, and insurance and other things. Employees cost money, and the HR paperwork you'll need will cost money, or having someone help you handle the HR part will also cost money. So it kind of snowballs in the fact that it's going to cost a lot of money for your upfront costs or your operating costs that have nothing to do with you selling the product. The cost of just having the product in your store. So that does put more money out of your revenue range. Buying, you also have to deal with buying and storing your products when you don't have enough shelving space. Well, you need a back area of your store to store that stuff. Well, what happens if you have a fire or a flood or a tornado that rips through your store, or anything that happens, a natural disaster. Well, you just your products that you have stored in the back are destroyed, especially the products up front. So you have to deal with thinking about the logistics of how much product to buy and store to have available. That's also money. A physical store startup costs. Now, this is a low cost estimate. It will differ between areas, but let's go through it anyway so you can get the ballpark range of what we're talking about. Product shelving and racking, after I did some research, can cost between $270 up to over $2,780 each. It's depending on what product you're selling, so it's depending on the type of racking system and shelving you will need. You'll need a point of sale system to track your sales. Well, that cost of that software plus your cash registers or computers that you use for that can definitely affect the cost per unit that you need to do those costs. So the more computers and point of sale system you need software, you'll have to times that by how many units you will need. So if you need two of them, that means your high cost could be 2,600. So that's something you'll also need to think about. The software probably not too bad. It's the system you have to run on can be. So it's all depending on what you choose, is depending on how much it will cost. Inventory tracking system. Well, that software can cost money. Product to fill your store. Well, depending on what you're selling, at the low estimate, it can cost you $3,500 or more. It's all depending on the cost of the product itself. Also, you're going to need to be able to keep storage of the excess product you'll need to keep your shelves stocked. So that's also something you need to consider. Another thing you have to think about is the cost of utilities for your business. That's right. Water, sewer, trash, internet, electricity, because you need the internet to run your point of sale system, also electricity. So depending on the business is depending on how much this will cost on utilities for your physical business. You also have to bear in mind state and city business taxes. You have to check with your local government or state on how that will affect you and how much you need to set aside for that, because you don't want to lose your business because you failed to plan for taxes, and it can get you on that. You're going to want an accountant to help you with that. One thing to calculate the cost of rent for the building you want for your business, I would suggest this website called thebalancemb.com. I will leave that link down below. It's a great calculator for you to plug in the information regarding your location and trying to figure out what's the cost of renting a building for your physical business. A rough estimate of the last three bullets can come to $2,644 a month. That's a rough estimate, and that's depending on your area. Sometimes if you're a more high cost bracket area like New York, LA, areas of California, so on and so forth, that cost can go up. So remember, these are all estimates. Some of them I was able to find dollar values to, other ones were estimates. So bear in mind, the estimated cost to starting up a physical business on the low end is can be over $10,000 to start. Not very many people have that kind of capital to start, and some people can't even get a loan for that to start a business. So I wanted you to be aware that there's a lot of upfront costs before you can even open your doors. Plus, there's a lot of scheduling and logistics and planning that go involved in that. Now let's look at the pros to having an online store. It's easy to compare prices and varieties of the products you have on your site, because variety is a good thing. There's no checkout line, which is great because people love not having to wait in a long checkout line. If anyone been to Walmart, you know what I'm talking about. It's convenient for sending gifts because they don't have to, after buying the product, have to go to a shipping store to ship it. You can ship it right from the website. Products sold online are often cheaper than sold in the stores because physical stores have more upfront costs, where an online store does not. Great thing about an online store, it is open 24/7 to the world. You're not tied down to a geographical location where you can only sell to that location, which is great. That's one problem with a physical store. You're stuck with only that small area of where you can sell to. With an online store, you're open 24/7 and open to the world. That means anyone can buy from you. You can make sales while you're sleeping or on vacation. You can't do that with a physical store, especially unless you want employees. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to have your physical store open at midnight when you're selling soaps. Just saying, it doesn't make sense. But with an online store, you can make sales online while you're sleeping or on vacation or doing whatever you got to do. You're making sales 24/7, which is great. It's easier to scale your business and new product lines with an online store because there's less upfront capital you have to put in. All you do is just do your research on what you want to add to your product listing for your site and load them up to your store, add the pictures and everything, and see how it goes. Then you can do your market research and you didn't have to put extra costs into it. You're not stuck to a location, which I talked about that a little bit earlier. That's why you're open 24/7 to the world. You're not stuck to the time frame of where you live or the physical location. You save money on rent and other costs, which can be reinvested in your marketing piece, which is important because the more you get the word out about your online store, the more you can bring people in. You don't have to deal with the extra cost of employees. Now, when your store gets super big, maybe you want to get help, but that's totally up to you and when it's on your time schedule, not someone else's. So you really don't have to have extra employees. I would recommend Shopify to make it easier for you to track your sales, reporting, analytics, and inventory of your online store. It's all in one, plus it runs your online storefront for you, so that works out great. It's such an awesome tool. If you want to go the online store route, that's the way you really want to go. Startup time is less than a physical store when you're doing an online store, which is great. And isn't the goal to make money sooner? I'm just saying. So I would suggest Shopify if you're going to do an online store. I did a review on them. I will leave the link down below of the reviews and me comparing them against Amazon and everything down below. Plus, I'll leave the link for you down below to their site so you can check them out for yourself. They do have a free trial. Online store cons. Well, in anything, there's always pros and cons. You could experience delay in delivery of the product. That's something you cannot control because you never know if there's a shortage on the manufacturing side or if there's a problem with the shipping of it getting transported. So that is a problem that you deal with online stores. I mean, who hasn't ordered something from Amazon and it took a month to get to you? I'm just saying, I've had that happen to me. So you can't control delay in delivery. Just be upfront with your customer. If it's something coming from overseas, you just need to be upfront with them that because of manufacturing, it could take longer to come. I mean, if you ordered anything during the whole COVID crisis, if something was coming from overseas, from Asia, it took longer to get here. Condition of the delivery. Sometimes when things are shipped, they get thrown around a bit and can cause damage to the product. So you need to know how you want to handle that if a product gets to your customer and it's damaged. So you're going to have to figure out how you want to handle that on a case-by-case basis. Usually just telling them to send it back and you'll send a replacement is usually the best course of action, or give them a refund. Give them a choice, and that will usually solve the problem relatively quickly. Shipping charges can be higher than the product cost. That comes up when you're selling a low-cost product, but the shipping costs more. So those things do come up. But I want to make sure you're aware. You can use them as a bump up freebie, bump up thing, saying, hey, we'll give you the X for free, just pay the shipping costs. Usually you can use that as a bump up in your online store. But you need to make sure you weigh the cost of an item and the shipping to make sure it's economical for your customers. So those are things you need to think about. Not correctly pricing your product. Make sure you're pricing your product at market value that other places are selling it. If you can sell a little cheaper, that's great too. Make sure you're just not undercutting yourself. But if you are pricing it way out of range, that someone can get that product at a store or on another website, then you might need to think about how you're pricing it. So you gotta do a little homework on that. Products cannot be handled before they are purchased when you're dealing with an online store. To fix this issue, make a short demo video or sizing chart for the item so that way they can understand the sizing aspects of the item or how it's used. That helps a lot with the selling point as well because they can see how the product is used, especially if it's not a very common item. They need to know how it's going to be used so they know how it's going to benefit them, and that's important. No personal interaction. If the person wants a personal interaction in the selling experience, the best way to handle that is to leverage a chat bot in your online store. Check out Shopify. I believe they have some tools that can help you with that. Also, email can also help as well because sometimes people have questions about the product. So, or they had a problem with the product and they need to talk to somebody. So, there are ways to handle the no personal interaction piece. Chat bots are perfect for that. Poor shopping experience because of navigation issues on the site. You need to make sure the navigation of the site makes sense because if it's not easy to move about, people might forget where the product they're looking at is, or they didn't get into their shopping cart, or it's just like, or your site's just confusing to navigate around and they'll just leave because it was hard to get around to buy what they wanted or shop online. So you need to make sure it makes sense and easy to use. Another problem is not enough pictures or poor quality pictures of the product. Again, a good way to get around that problem when the place you're buying the product from does not have good pictures or provide good pictures is take your own pictures and or do a demo video that always does well. So if you still pictures of the item, easy way to do a little photo booth is get a cardboard box and line it with white cloth, like a bed sheet or something. It's really easy to do. And take some pictures of the product or do a short video of with your cell phone or a camera or a GoPro and show how the product is used. Pretty easy. Sometimes there are frauds on online shopping. There are fake online stores where people just steal people's money and don't deliver the product. But you're not that kind of person. So, just to let you know that people have had poor shopping online experience because of that issue, make sure you are providing good customer service so that does not happen to you because you don't want bad word of mouth about your online store because of that scenario happening. So, make sure you are providing good customer service. An online store takes time to start generating a profit. What do I mean by that? Once you start your online store and you got your products up there and you got it all organized and you're ready to go, you need to start advertising it out there because people are not going to know the store's out there unless you get the word out, and that is important. So it does take time for it to start generating profit, but at least the only big cost you have when doing an online store is the service you're using for your online store. That's the only big cost you have in the beginning. Um, and I'm going to talk about cost too, about starting an online store, which will help you put, which will help you wrap your mind around the difference between a physical store and an online store. Online store startup costs. I would suggest an online storefront like Shopify because one, they're very economical to start your online store. Plus, they will give you a way for tracking your sales, reporting, analytics, and inventory, so you know how much you're selling of what products, so you know what is really selling and what isn't. That way, you can drop off products that aren't working for you. Plus, they do a bunch of other stuff that really, really help you out. You will need to buy product samples for you to try. That's roughly $250. So you want to buy one of each product you plan to offer on your storefront because you want to You might need to do your own photography. Plus, if you're going to do video, do a short video of how the product is used, you're going to have the product with you. So, you're going to want to make sure the product is good quality before you sell it, because you don't want to sell cheap, nasty products on your store. You're an awesome store owner. You don't want cheap stuff. You want awesome stuff. Mock-up photography for your products. Well, if you do it yourself, then it's not going to cost you anything. If you need to get a photographer to help you out, make sure you have your sample products already. Have a friend come over or someone come over who does photography, and they can do product photography for you. At the low end, about $100, but it's also depending on how many products you have. So you can negotiate and work with that person. Great thing, there's no extra utility cost because you're doing this out of your house, so you don't have to budget for extra utilities. Actually, if you're running this business out of your house, you can actually write off some of your utility costs that you're using for it, like electricity, internet. You get the picture. No extra costs for rent. That's right, you're not renting a space for your store. Although, if you have an extra room in your house, you can turn that into your office space for your online store, and you can actually write that cost off on taxes. Work with your tax preparer on that. I'm not a professional tax preparer, but they can help you figure that out. So that way you know how much to write off on taxes every year regarding renting that space to yourself for your business. That way, it will help you out. Please, please, please remember, you need to plan for taxes. Look at your state and federal rules regarding that. Talk to a tax preparer. They can help you figure that out. So please always plan for that. Training and mentorship courses to set you up for success. This is optional, but I highly recommend it if you want to be successful in doing this, because they will show you the ins and outs of where to find good products and how to avoid the pitfalls of easy mistakes that you can avoid. I do have there is a class that I do recommend that I've taken myself that I would recommend that you take to help you out with that, and I'm going to tell you more about that later. Estimated cost is a little over $500 on the low end to start an online store. Holy cow, that's a big difference between over $10,000 versus a little over $500, and it's depending on if you do your own photography. So you can actually start an online store for pennies on the dollar. I mean, if you don't have $500 right now, I get it. However, it wouldn't take you long to save up $500. If you can put aside $100 a month, you can start planning for the other stuff. I mean, in 5 months, you can have an online store if you wanted to right then and there. I would suggest saving up if you don't have the $500. If you have the $500, still plan ahead. Start planning out your stuff. And there you go. You can get started with as easy with $500. I would say budget for $1,000 just in case, because your online upfront store costs, or your online store cost, is a monthly fee for the Shopify. So might as well budget for $1,000. That way you have a couple of months of money for your Shopify monthly payment. But everything else for once you buy your products, you're good. Once you have your photography, it's good. So, but still work with a tax preparer and talk to them about what you should plan for and everything. But also the mentorship classes I was talking about will help you plan for that too. Difference between an online versus a physical store. So let's review. An online store, you use Shopify to run your online store. It works for you 24/7 once you get it all set up. It's worldwide. You do not have to keep inventory. You have your upfront cost is can be over $500, and I would recommend training and get a training program or mentorship program, or get into one, because it will help you with the questions you're going to have. Physical store, you have a physical storefront. You're stuck to a 9-to-5 schedule, or whatever schedule you want to set. You are at a physical location, so it limits your worldwide reach. Storing your inventory, you have to plan for that, and the upfront cost can easily be over $10,000. 2 steps to starting an online store. Sign up for a free trial of Shopify today. I will leave the link down below so you can sign up, go check it out for yourself, look at the plans, everything. I also did a video review of Shopify so you can understand the different plans and services they have, so that way you can find the right plan for you. So I'll leave that link down below because I want you to be informed. I would suggest Bling Your Shop training program. It's really great. I've taken it myself, and it will help you get started. So sign up for your Shopify account and go to Bling Your Shop training. I will leave the link down below. It's not a training I offer, it's someone else. It's a training someone else offers, but I recommend it because I've also taken it. Hope you like my video. Like and subscribe. Down below I have the links to the video to the Shopify review, a link to Shopify itself, and a link to that training course I was telling you about on starting up your own online store. This is Michelle from nerdymomsunited.com, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.